Okay, I guess we can start. Let me start with the official opening. So good morning, everyone. Welcome to the second day of the STDE final conference. Yesterday, it attracted great attention, so we hosted hundreds of local, national, international attendees from all over Turkey and all over the world. So we wish you a fruitful conference day today as well. Today, our schedule will start with a presentation by Buse Şentürk. Her presentation is titled Developing STDE Training Modules for Teachers. So at this point, I'd like to leave the floor to Buse. Welcome, Buse. The floor is yours for your presentation.
Okay, thank you, Hocam. I would like to welcome everyone once again. So as you know, this is the second day of our final conference. We have participants from all over the world. It's a Saturday morning in Turkey here, and I know that it's even earlier in the West. So I would like to thank everyone for being here on a Saturday morning with us. So I'm Buse Şentürk from Boğaziçi University. I got my BA degree from the Department of Foreign Language Education, and now I'm doing my master's in the field of educational technology at the same field. I'm also an English teacher. And before starting my talk, I would like to thank Yasemin Bayur, Şebnem Yalçın, and Senem Yıldız for giving me this opportunity to take part in this project. It was a very valuable experience for me. So I will be talking about the experience of developing online training modules for teachers as part of the STDE project. So we have 6 partners and 6 topics, let's say, and Boğaziçi team was responsible for the development of the digital assessment module. So as you know, this is an Erasmus Plus project with several outputs. So we have the methodology guidebook prepared by Boğaziçi University, which was introduced by Şebnem Yalçın and Senem Yıldız yesterday. We have held several LTT sessions or conferences, let's say, and we have prepared training modules for teachers on digital skills for their practices, and we were responsible for the development of the assessment module. And the final output of the project is the final conference that we are having at the very moment. So this project was developed in order to find a solution to a problem, which is the fact that teachers, especially in K-12, lack the necessary skills to use digital technologies in their practice for various reasons. And when the COVID-19 pandemic hit, things became chaotic because nobody was prepared for it. We had to switch to emergency remote teaching, which is a way to compensate the lack of instruction, pre-planned instruction that we are used to. It is some sort of a crisis management, let's say. And during this emergency remote teaching period, teachers feel that they are bombarded with tools and platforms to be used in their practice for distance education, and they also feel that they are lost, and they also report that they observe poor learning outcomes as part of their students. And overall, teachers report a feeling of burnout during emergency remote teaching. And as I have mentioned, we have this guidebook prepared by Boğaziçi University, and as all the partners in the project paid special attention to making bridges between theory and practice. And what the guidebook does for us is informing us on the integration of technology in instruction, mainly with the DigComp Edu framework, the SAMR model, which is about to what extent and in what ways does different digital tools enhance our traditional, let's say, teaching practices, and also Bloom's taxonomy, and even though not explicitly stated, 21st century skills. And as part of the theory, we also based our studies on the TPEC framework by Punya Mishra. So TPEC framework has 3 subcategories: content knowledge, pedagogy knowledge, and technological knowledge. And we mainly focused on technological and pedagogical knowledge, and in the intersection of these two, technological pedagogical knowledge. Content knowledge is rather classified as knowledge that is specific to the subject areas, and since that would require having a whole different project, we couldn't focus on different subject areas, but we focused on technological and pedagogical knowledge. So our training was mainly dedicated for in-service teachers that have been in the field for some time, for some years. And the best combination for this was combining theory and practice for us. That was our solution. As for the theory part, as I mentioned before, we got help from the Competitive Framework, SAMR model, Bloom's taxonomy, and TPEC framework. And as for practice, we made use of the existing research in the literature. We gained insights from teachers, and we also made use of the survey that was conducted at Karamürsel by Deniz Çiçek and Senem Yıldız. Gaining insights about the issues that teachers in the field face was very important for us, because that was what we were trying to solve. So technology integration has always been a challenge, not just after the COVID-19 pandemic. It has always been a challenge, and there are different barriers for technology integration. And Hugh and Brush classify these barriers under two subcategories. The first order barriers, the barriers that are external to the teacher, such as lack of necessary resources, institutional support, and shared understanding within the institution. The subject culture, because some subject areas, such as arts, aren't taught that can be conducted using digital technologies and assessment methods. And second order barriers are barriers that are internal to the teachers, such as their attitudes and beliefs towards technology and their knowledge and skills of using digital technologies as teachers in their practice. And according to Erdmer, internal barriers, barriers that are internal to the teachers, are much more difficult to overcome. Because if a teacher wants to use some sort of digital technologies in their practice, even though they have very little institutional support, they do in fact find their way around and find ways to apply digital technologies in their practice, regardless of to what extent. But when teachers don't want to use technologies in their teachings, then regardless of institutional support or the devices that are available and the resources, they just don't make use of the digital technologies as teachers, because they just don't want to, or they don't see its value, how it could change, how it could transform their traditional practice. And according to research, teachers' pedagogical beliefs, namely their perception of digital technology, has positive effects to teaching and learning, and it has a significant positive effects on their technology integration as teachers. And teachers also technological readiness, which can be defined as technological self-efficacy and the perceived usefulness of technology. They play also an important role in teachers' tendency to integrate technology into their teaching practice. And we have, as a team, we have tried to emphasize this while planning the development of our modules. We tried to make it clear that technology does have a valuable impact on their practice, and when integrated in meaningful and effective ways, it can result in deeper learning as well. So I'm sure most of us are familiar with this phrase, art for art's sake. It's open to discussion, but when we are to apply the same phrase to technology, is it technology for technology's sake? The answer is a big no. We don't use technology for using technology. We don't use it for the sake of technology. We use it for the sake of education. Because technology shouldn't be used for the sake of technology, but for the sake of education, as I've said. Because digital technologies aren't the makeup of it. It's not the topping on a cupcake, but it's a way to enhance and to add to the conventional teaching and learning experience. That is not that cannot be offered through traditional methods. And technology and digital platforms, they of course serve as a source of motivation, because there's this novelty effect. When you introduce a new tool, students get excited and they are mesmerized by it, but through time it declines. But as teachers, our main concern should be to what extent does digital technologies enhance our traditional classroom setting? Because for us, it should be meaningful technology integration that is important, because our goal is for our students to reach a deeper and more effective level of learning. That's our primary concern. So, as I have mentioned before, Boğaziçi team, we were responsible for the development of the assessment module. So we have two levels, level 1 and level 2, and these two the whole module takes 10 hours in total to complete. The first level is A1, A2 level, the basic level, and teachers at this level can be categorized as either newcomers or explorers of technology. And at the second level, at B1 and B2 advanced level, our teachers can be classified as integrators or experts in using digital technologies in their practice. So if I'm to talk about the general flow of our modules, we start by warm-up questions that require our teachers to reflect to their own practice and the issues that they face, the issues they're having at the moment, and how they try to overcome those issues, or whether they are still unsolved. And we encourage our teachers to use the discussion forum on the learning management system to post their responses and also respond to fellow teachers to share experience. And then our teachers are directed to read the related chapters of the methodology guidebook and the DigComp framework. And we have these guidebook boxes to provide theoretical input for our teachers. And then the authentic animations of two teachers follows. One of the teachers posits a problem, gives a call to the other, and tells about his problem. And the other teacher, who is more experienced, comes up with proper tools and practices as suggestions. And we have provided tasks for our teachers to gain hands-on practical experience with the tools that have just been suggested. We wanted them to use the tools within the training for them to gain experience. And as for closure, we wanted our teachers to reflect to their own practice and their own experience once again to see how far they have come. And overall, through the whole module, we have encouraged our teachers to engage in the discussion forum. As I mentioned before, we have animations. We have a storyline that goes on throughout the whole training, in all 6 modules. We have 2 teachers, Tom and Lisa. Tom is less experienced with educational technology as a teacher, and Lisa is more experienced. So Tom gives a call to Lisa, and he tells about his problem, the issues that he's facing. And Lisa, having understood Tom, she elaborates on the problem that Tom has just posited, and she refers to the methodology to combine theory and practice, as we have tried to do throughout the whole training. And then Lisa suggests some tools and practices by explaining their features. And following this, so in animations, we have these main tools that were explained in detail. And after these animations, we provided some additional resources such as YouTube tutorials and forums as well. But in addition to the main tools, we have provided additional tools that are parallel to the ones suggested earlier, either in function or in in the way that they can be used. We have also provided our teachers with the original and official documentations of the tools and platforms, and also various resources such as blog entries and forums, where our teachers can communicate with fellow teachers as well. And we have also provided YouTube tutorials for our teachers to see the hands-on application of the tools and gain insights from fellow colleagues. And overall, our teachers are advised to search for further information for the tools and practices as well, which is a skill that we should all bear. Being able to do the research for our purposes is very important, especially in the 21st century as teachers. So the assessment module overall has three subcategories. The first one is assessment strategies, which is dedicated to using digital technologies for formative and summative assessment, as well as enhancing the diversity and suitability of assessment formats and approaches. As for analyzing evidence, so we have this data that was collected through assessment, and we have to analyze this evidence. And this section is about generating, selecting, critically analyzing, and interpreting digital evidence on learner activity, performance, and progress to be able to inform teaching and learning and to be able to make necessary adjustments. And as for feedback and planning, this section is dedicated for using digital technologies to provide targeted and timely feedback to learners, as well as adapting teaching strategies and providing targeted support based on the evidence generated by digital technologies used before, as well as enabling learners and parents to understand the evidence provided by digital technologies and use this for decision making in our practice, let's say. So as for assessment strategies at the basic level, these are the statements of our teachers, their levels. So newcomer teachers at this level make little use of digital technologies for assessment, and teachers as explorers at this section, they integrate digital technologies into traditional assessment strategies, and they use digital technologies to create assessment tasks. But then they administrate this assessment task in paper format. And they also plan for students' use of digital technologies in assessment tasks, such as in supportive assignments like making research. At this section, we have suggested our teachers to use Google Forms, Go Formative, or also known as Formative, Kahoot, and SurveyMonkey. As for monitoring progress at the basic level, our newcomer teachers make little use of digital data for monitoring progress because they don't or very rarely refer to this digitally recorded data to understand the situation of their students. And explorer teachers at this level evaluate basic data on learner activity and performance, but this data is rather administrative data such as attendance and data on student performance, such as grades for individual feedback and targeted interventions. But I like this statement. They are aware that digital assessment tools like quizzes, polls, voting systems, that they can be used within the teaching process to provide them with timely feedback on learner progress, which is very important because sometimes we need this just-in-time quick assessments to plan the rest of the rest of the lesson. I'm sorry. And at this section, we have introduced the analytics feature of Google Classroom. So here's a snapshot of it. Our teachers can see the overall and also individual situation of their students, the classroom average, and etc. with for different assignments and different topics. And I think this data is very important, especially in distance education. And teachers, when feedback and planning, our newcomer teachers make little use of digital data for feedback and planning, and because they're not aware how digital technologies can help them in providing feedback or adapting their teaching strategies. And explorer teachers use digital technologies to inform feedback. They use digital technologies to compile an overview on learner progress, which they use as a basis for offering feedback and advice. And at this step, we suggested our teachers to use this guardian emails feature of Google Classroom. Google Classroom is very fruitful because it's a compilation of many features. Here's an example of it, and we provided our teachers some tips and additional resources on how to write such emails for caregivers, for parents and other caregivers of the students, for informing them. As for the advanced level, for assessment strategies, so teachers at this level are either integrators or experts of using digital technologies as teachers. So they are not that inexperienced. They are coming to a level that they can be comfortable with their use of digital technologies as teachers. So they either employ or modify the existing digital assessment tools and formats, or they strategically use a range of digital assessment formats. So they use some existing digital technologies for formative or summative assessment. This distinction is important, such as digital quizzes, e-portfolios, and games, and they also adapt digital assessment tools to support their specific assessment goals, like creating a test using a digital system. And teachers at the expert level use a range of e-assessment software tools and approaches for formative assessment, both in the classroom and for learners to use after school, because assessment does not only happen within the classroom context. It's not limited to class hours. And they are able to select between different assessment formats, the one that is most adequately capture the nature of the learning outcome that they want to assess. And they're also able to design digital assessments which are valid and reliable. At this section, we suggested our teachers to use Flipgrid, Canva, and Weebly for education. I like all these three tools very much, but especially Canva and Weebly for education. Weebly for education is a platform for classroom communities to be able to create blogs and blog entries. They can have their own personal websites, but it is secured within the classroom community. So it is like a sandbox for students, let's say. And Canva is a very practical tool, and it has education feature as well for students to get together and prepare posters and presentations and even logos. As for monitoring progress at the advanced level, our integrator teachers evaluate a range of digital data to inform teaching. They evaluate these data that resulted from digital assessment to inform learning and teaching, and they are indeed aware that this data on learner activity, as it is recorded in digital environments, can help them monitor their progress and provide them with timely feedback and assistance. And expert teachers for monitoring progress, they strategically employ digital tools for data generation. They use digital technologies within the teaching process to provide them with timely feedback on learner progress. And they use data analysis tools to provide feedback to their learners, to monitor and visualize learner activity. And they also interpret this data available in order to better understand the individual learner needs for further support if necessary. And at this section, we suggested our teachers to use Edmodo. And as for feedback and planning, our integrator teachers use digital technologies to provide feedback, and expert teachers use digital data to enhance the effectiveness of feedback and support. They try to help students and parents to access information on learner progress using digital technologies, and they use digital technologies to grade and give feedback on electronically submitted assignments as well. And they adapt their teaching and assessment strategies based on this data available through digital assessment tools, and they provide personal feedback and offer differentiated support to learners. And then at this step, we suggested our teachers to use ClassDojo, which is very, very much liked by teachers, students, and also caregivers. So if I'm to conclude my talk, I will very briefly talk about the overall experience of preparing a training module for teachers, for in-service teachers. So it sure was a challenge for us to suggest the most suitable tool as well, because it was important for us to come up with tools that are either free or the ones that have free versions, but also enable a lot of various tasks to be carried out by our teachers, because some free versions are very limited, but we didn't want that. So we paid special attention to tools that are accessible by everyone. And to do this, we did a lot of research, of course. And as we introduced the tools, not because they are cool and fun, but because of their practicality and functionality, we have encouraged the teachers to use the tools as part of the training, within the training, to gain hands-on practical experience in meaningful ways. And overall, we paid specific attention to functionality, practicality, and affordability of the tools that we have introduced our teachers with. So that will be all from me. If there are any questions or comments, I'm happy to hear.
Thank you very much, Buse. Let me check the chat. There are, of course, comments. Deniz Çiçek makes a comment. I love this. Technology for the sake of, for the sake of education, not for technology. And Aydan Hoca also makes a comment. Thank you for breaking sexist cliches and making Lisa more experienced. And Yasemin Hocam has already made a comment. It was the idea from the beginning, she says.
Yeah, it's not on me.
And there are thanks, Buse, for this awesome presentation. It was a great presentation from the audience. These are the comments to you. And
okay, thank you everyone for your comments and for your time. I would like to thank everyone once again.
And Rabia Işık makes the final comment, like, great presentation, so smooth. I certainly did relate your talk to my own experience. So
I'm
this
happy
is
to
also
hear
a
that.
nice comment. So thank you very much, Buse.